Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is going to be the beginning of the reconditioning of the town car. So today I'm going to start with doing some exterior detailing. So first things first, I'll come in and vacuum out all the leaves that are inside the trunk. I'll come up and do the same in the front. Vacuum up everything that's in the cowl. And then I'll get it outside and I'll give it a wash with some Dawn dish soap. That'll take off all the dirt and grease and grime, and if there's any wax on it, which I highly doubt at this point, the Dawn dish soap will take that off, and then at least the paintwork will be completely bare and I'll be able to see what I'm starting with. It's really not in that bad a condition other than the top. So once I get it cleaned up, then I'll be able to see how many chips and scratches and that kind of stuff's in it. Like I had shown in the first video, there's a few scratches there that are through the paint, so I can touch those up. The front bumper's got a little mark there, but luckily this is just basic non-metallic black, so I can, for that kind of stuff, I can just get a touch-up pen and that should look pretty decent. I'm not going to go and repaint the whole car for some scratches. Now I did, for the top, I did call several auto upholstery shops in the area, and I found about 6 of them that actually will recover the tops. The issue is one of them's out 6 months, one of them's out a year, one of them's out 3 months, so the soonest I could get it in is about a month and a half, and it's probably about $1,000 from that shop, which that's pretty much what I figured to have it recovered. 1,000, well, 1,000 to 2,000 to have it recovered, and I still think that would be cheaper than going through and removing the top and repainting it, filling in all of the holes from the trim, and especially like on the trunk, so you'll have screw holes in the trunk, so now you've got to fill those and paint the trunk. It's not just the top, so it would be the trunk, the roof, the tops of the doors. You'd have to do work on all of those. So even though I don't prefer the fake top, I think it's just the easier route to go. And to make it blend a little better, instead of keeping it brown, I'll probably go with a black top, so it just hopefully blends in with the black car and it's not as noticeable. So let's get started. And as a side note, I should be putting together a video soon of the new tractor that just came in. So if you're into farm equipment, I just picked up a new Bobcat CT 2025 on Friday. Took 2 months to come in after I ordered it, but it's in, and I'll make a video of it a little later if that's something you're interested in. But back to the Lincoln. I'll get out the vacuum and start getting to work on it. Just finished giving it a quick vacuum, and I got everything cleaned up on the cowl and down on top of the engine. That stuff came out pretty decent, and inside the trunk as well. So this should just be a quick scrub when I wash it, and this stuff should all clean up pretty well. And while I was at it, I went ahead and vacuumed the car. So the trunk is in pretty nice shape. Just a few little dirty spots, but I can scrub those. That's not an issue. The interior as well came out pretty nice. I could tell it wasn't bad to start with. And just with a quick vacuum, there's really not much to see. A couple spots on the carpet that I can hit with Spot Shot, clean those up pretty well. But overall, it's really clean. So the interior is going to clean up really well, and without much effort. It's clean enough. I'm not going to the extent of pulling seats or anything like that, which I've done on other cars. But when you when you go to clean out a car, make sure you have on gloves when you're cleaning under the seats, because you don't know what's going to be hiding under there. At least in this case, it was just a few water bottles and some pens and golf pencils. But I've run across some pretty nasty stuff hiding under the seats. But the carpet is really nice. Same on this side. Just a few little spots on the floor mat. A couple little stains on the tunnel, but a quick scrub and that stuff will come out. There's no wear anywhere. Even the driver floor mat doesn't have hardly any wear where your heel sits. So, yeah, I can get the interior looking pretty much like new, I think, without too much effort. So let's get it outside. Hopefully find some shade, since how it's 95 degrees, and give it a bath to see what kind of shape the paintwork's in. Okay, I spent a few hours, well, several hours yesterday getting the outside scrubbed down, and it came out pretty nice, I think. I'll take it outside in a little bit to get a better view, but now we're going to move on to the inside. So as with the outside, I'm going to scrub everything down with dish soap to get all the grease and grime off of it. I'll come back in with the leather conditioner for the seats and some 303 aerospace protectant for the dash and the door panels, that kind of stuff. So I guess time to get scrubbing. Now that I've spent 5 hours on the exterior and about 3 hours on the interior, it's probably as good a time as any for another walk around. If we look at the exterior, the painted portion anyway, it's really in no worse condition than I anticipated. The paint's really dull, which I expected. There's a small dent in the hood. That's not a big deal. The driver's side, there's really no door dings that I can see, just more dull paint. And like especially at the back of the door, just from closing it, it's really dull back here, but I can buff that up. There's a few chips in it, a few chips here. I can touch all of that up. And you may have saw in the video when I was washing it, I went around all of the trim and the rubber seals with a toothbrush, because all down through here and on top of the trim here and underneath the trim and in all of these cracks, it was just kind of green algae. And also the Ford chime, and also like on top of the hinges back here, went in with a toothbrush to clean up all of that so it looks a little better. And also inside the gas lid, it's a lot of times if people do a quick detail, they won't do the little stuff like that makes it look better, like inside the doors, around all the trim inside the gas door. And that's the stuff that kind of makes it shine if you really look at a car. The trunk, like everything else, it's dull but not dented or damaged. And the bumper cover has definitely been repainted, and it's kind of suspect quality. But I can buff it up pretty well and it'll look fine for what the car is. Same with this quarter. I knew it had this damage in here. Somebody had brushed along something, so I can touch that up. But this quarter, I think this whole side of the car has been painted, just from there's a little bit of dirt in it in a few spots in the clear coat, and like especially from about there forward, the paint definitely has a different look to it. The orange peel isn't quite the same as everywhere else, so the whole side may have been painted and then the front of the fender painted again at another point. But whatever, it's a 21-year-old car. I don't really care. I'll buff it up, make it look pretty good. This stuff should all buff out. I'm guessing that's all from the same incident. Somebody just kind of swiped the whole side of the car and the mirror. But that'll clean up. That'll clean up. The lower trim, or the lower cladding, it went down to the plastic, but I think I'll just buff it to get the white marks off of it, and then probably just leave it be. With it being black plastic, from a couple feet away you don't notice it that much, and being down at the bottom, I think that'll probably look better than if I try to touch it up. But I can experiment with that. If I can touch up a couple spots, and if it looks bad while it's still wet, I can take some enamel reducer and wipe it off. So we'll experiment with that a little bit. The hood, not the hood, the headlights, like I had mentioned in the first video, I can probably buff those up, and if they don't look good, then I'll just pull them out and sand them down and re-clear them like I've done before. And over here, got a spot I can touch up. I'll buff it to get the scratches out of it first, and then I'll come back and touch it up. And I think the exterior should clean up pretty nice. The wheels are overall in pretty nice shape. There's the center caps have a little bit of spider webbing, but it doesn't look bad. There's a little bit of brake dust caked on inside the pockets, but I can clean that up. I'll take a little polish to those. All of them look about the same. Let's take a look at the inside now. It cleaned up pretty well also. So the door panels are in nice shape. This door looks nice. The back seat and the carpet looks pretty much like new. I missed the driver's seat. The driver's seat cleaned up pretty decent, but it's still a little dingy. So I think I'm going to have to come back with maybe my leather reek. I've had really good luck with the leather reek on high quality leather. I'm not sure how high quality this is. It's relatively soft, but if it has a heavy polyurethane coating, it probably won't do too much. But I can try it and see how it comes out. The dash is in really nice shape. No issues with it. Everything in all the center stack cleaned up nice. Center console lid cleaned up nice. The steering wheel looks really nice. And one thing to keep in mind if you're cleaning a car that has printed lettering for like the wiper stock and the dimmer here, this stuff, if you scrub pretty aggressively, you can wipe the lettering right off of it. So be careful when you're working around that stuff. This side, very clean. Same with the door panel over here. This door panel also, no issues with it. The passenger seat, it cleaned up pretty nice, but if I hit the driver's seat with some leather reek, I'll do the passenger seat too. And it did have a couple spots in the carpet. I just hit that with Spot Shot this afternoon, and it's still drying, but I'll come back once it's dry and vacuum it, and I think that'll look pretty nice. It's already kind of hard to tell that there were even spots there. So overall, I think this thing will clean up really nice. I just have to try to get this top situation figured out. See if I can find somebody that can do the recovering in less than 6 months. And also, while I was doing the detail, I scrubbed up under the hood. That was really filthy. And like everything else, I scrubbed it down with dish soap. I prefer a clean matte finish under the hood. I hate when I look at a newer used car and it's just covered in greasy detailer shit. So just a scrub down with dish soap, and it came really clean. I think it came out pretty nice. The cowl vent, that was all full of leaves. So vacuumed that out and scrubbed it down because it also had a bunch of algae in it. That cleaned up nice. Start buffing it out. I've got 4 levels of polish I want to hit it with, and glaze, sealer, and wax. I'll probably do the polish, maybe the glaze and sealer, and then wait until the top's done to finish it up, just in case they lean against the car and scratch it or something when they're working on the top. But yeah, overall, very pleased with how this is coming out. So outside in indirect sunlight, it actually looks pretty good. It's always, the most telling thing is always to get it inside under the lights. And under the lights, you can definitely tell that it's pretty dull, but that'll buff up pretty well. The paint feels pretty smooth, but I went ahead and hit the flat spots, so like the hood and the trunk and the tops of the fenders, with a clay bar to clean off a little bit of garbage. The sides feel fine, and my heavy polishing pad is on its last project, so if it gets tore up or something, that's fine. It's going in the garbage after I'm done with this anyway. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to tape off anything that's rubber. So like along here, put a piece of tape over it and tape off the bright moldings, and then I'll go around like the bottom of the top and up here on the A-pillar. Tape that stuff off. And then once everything's taped off, got my set of polishes here. I've been using chemical guys for a while. You can use whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. Whatever your personal preference is. And then I've got my whole series of pads here. So I have my very heavy polish, heavy, moderately heavy, and final, and then glaze, sealer, wax. So pretty much from here down, I won't be using those for right now. I'll finish that up when the top's done. So we'll just be focusing on these 4 levels of polish. I wanted to pause real quick after doing half of the hood with the most aggressive polish, just to show where we are. So you can see on the left is what I've hit with the heavy polish, and this is untreated, and that's a pretty good comparison of how dull the paint is. Now I don't know where the hell they washed this thing or what they washed it with, but it's got a ton of scratches in it. Now this, you could definitely get these out if you're using a rotary buffer, or if you wet sanded it, you could definitely get those out. So I can just barely feel them with my fingernail. So they're fairly deep, and the DA, at least the 6-inch DA, doesn't want to take them out. And I don't know, it'll look fine. One thing you have to keep in mind when you're doing this is how much your time is worth. So even though this is a hobby and I'm not doing it as a business, my time is still worth something. So if I can spend 15 hours on it and get it looking 90%, I think that's a good place to stop, versus spending 30 hours on it to get that last 10%. So I think once I get all 4 levels of polish done, glaze, seal, and wax, it'll be good enough for an 18-year-old car. Alright, so the moment we've been waiting for probably about 2 months now. The top has finally been recovered. Came out pretty nice. I think it looks much better in black than it did in beige. And even though I'm not a fan of the top, it passes. So, yeah, it looks pretty good. Alright, I'm getting ready to do the final detailing on the Lincoln, and the polishing's already done, but I wanted to go back and experiment a little bit, because the hood and the trunk have some decent scratches in it. I can just barely feel them with my fingernail, but they're pretty obvious, at least inside under the lights. And I figured I'd experiment on something like this. That's a cheap car, and if it gets kind of screwed up, then I won't be too sad about it. So a learning experience for for better cars in the future. So I've got my set of 7 foam hex logic pads. So that's typically what I use, and the heavy cutting pad wasn't able to take the deeper scratches out of the hood and the trunk. So I wanted to try some microfiber cutting pads. So I grabbed a pair of these off of Amazon with the corresponding correction compound. So I'm going to try that to see if it'll take out or at least cover those scratches a little better. So it mounts on the Velcro pad like the other pads. So I'll give that a try, see if it works. I need to do the hood, and looks like at least the round of the top of the fenders to get that out. The sides of the car don't look bad. I'll just glaze and seal those. I'll clean it up as best I can. Remember, it's an 18-year-old car, so I'm not trying to make it look perfect. Alright, the old lady is finally done. And damn, it looks really good outside. Paint shines, you really can't see any imperfections in the hood or in the trunk. Even the marks in the bumper that I touched up, from a few feet away you can't really see them. And down the sides, still have some few scratches and chips, but that would take wet sanding, and even then they might not even come out. And the back bumper is kind of the worst thing on it. So you got some scratches over here. Yeah, trunk lid looks good. So for an 18-year-old car, this thing looks really good. Outside, the new top looks good. So I think she's ready to move on to a new owner. Let's take a look at the inside too. Got that all cleaned up. Like we saw, I think in an earlier video, door panels look good. I didn't do much to those. I leather wreaked the seats as we saw. Those look really good. Carpets are nice and clean. Got a little bit of an air freshener, and it's got kind of an old person musty smell. There's no water leaks or anything. It's just from sitting closed up for a couple years. It doesn't smell terribly fresh. But the back seat, the carpet looks like brand new. This side too, very clean. Obviously the driver's seat has the most wear, and even that, for an 18-year-old car, it looks pretty damn good. Dash looks like new. So yeah, it looks like you would expect a 50,000 mile car to look like. So now that it's done, let's take it for a ride. I know in the first video the peeling toupee was slapping on the roof, so now it'll at least be quiet. Well, we already have one driving video, so we'll just do another quick drive. Starts up like any other Ford. With the new tires, it still does not like to be hustled, as you would expect. It's interesting to think that 2 decades ago, this was considered high-end American luxury. It's like a giant soft car with a sofa for a front seat. Like, it can't handle, but if you're going in a straight line down the highway, no problem. 80 miles an hour, 25 miles per gallon plus, and you're cruising along in silent comfort. So, for what it was designed to be, it's a great car, and it's still a great car. And this particular one will make a great car for the next owner. I just really hope it doesn't end up at like some buy here, pay here lot, or stuck into some livery service to live out the rest of its life. I hope somebody actually buys it and keeps it in good shape for themselves. But hey, if whoever's willing to pay the money, they get it. So in closing, it's a great car. I think it was a good buy. I don't have much money in it, so I should be able to, I can definitely break even on it, and I'll get it listed up this week and hopefully get it sold within the week. With the car market the way it is, nothing that's in good condition and is priced well sticks around very long. So fingers crossed that'll happen here. So stay tuned for other videos. Check out some of my older videos and subscribe.